High in the Adirondack Mountains of New York State awaits an unparalleled variety of activity. Canoeing, hiking, backpacking, rappelling, water skiing, fishing, whitewater rafting, and snorkeling all can be found within miles of each other. We of the Association of Adirondack Scout Camps welcome you to enjoy a high adventure trek in northern New York, an area blessed with a multitude of lakes, trails, high peaks, and related scenic views. 17 Scout Councils from the states of New York and New Jersey formed the association in the late 1970s. Since that time, the 6 million acres of New York's Adirondack State Park, larger than the state of Vermont, have been designated a high adventure area by the Boy Scouts of America, and treks have been made available to scouts from across the United States. 19 camps of the association are involved in the 10 high adventure treks open to scouts and explorers. Named for famous Adirondack people and places, the treks are staged in various areas of this century-old forever wild preserve and involve many association camps. Toss in a few well-known landmarks along the way, and we're sure you'll be talking about Adirondack high adventure for years to come. Before we get into the variety of activities available to you and your fellow scouters, let's tell you a little about this beautiful area. Geologically, the Adirondack Mountains are very old. Accounts indicate this region of the northeastern United States was initially covered by an ancient sea called the Grenville. Historically, the Adirondack Mountains are very young, as little was known about them until the time of the Revolutionary War. It was not until the 1840 period that widespread attention was given to the central Adirondack region. Miners, lumberjacks, scientific explorers, and writers came to be synonymous with the Adirondacks. It was from the groups of early explorers and writers that most of the names of the lofty peaks in the Adirondacks originated. Many Indian names had been given to the region, but the one that took hold was Adirondack, taken from a Mohawk Indian word which means those who eat trees, or bark eaters. Nature's beauty in the Adirondacks became recognizable and attracted settlers to the region in the late 1800s. With them came the age of the great camps and hotels, large and stately structures that dotted the Adirondack landscape and attracted wealthy residents from numerous large eastern U.S. cities. Laws were enacted about the same time to prevent further sale of land belonging to New York State in the Adirondacks, and in 1885 the Adirondack Forest Preserve was created, with the lands within the preserve declared forever wild. It is the largest state park in the country, and the only park where wilderness is protected under state law. It's in this environment you'll approach your base camp for a week's adventure. You may wish to leave a few days early to camp near one of the many historic sites in and around the Adirondack area. Upon arriving at one of the base camps, scouts and leaders are given health, swim, and canoe checks most appropriate to their upcoming adventure. We undertook a trek with a combined group of scouts from New Jersey and Virginia to see their reaction to this exciting program. The one they chose was the Nessmuk Trek. Most of the troop had experience in other high adventure programs and chose Nessmuk because of the canoeing program connected with it. Hiking had been their forte, so this group wanted a new challenge. After reporting on Sunday to Camp Massawepie, their choice of base camp for Nessmuk, the scouts and leaders were met by Massawepie's instructor in rock climbing and mountaineering, who provided them with a comprehensive orientation. Once they became familiar with equipment, the instructor led the eager troop to its first climb. Rock climbing is a little different than rappelling, so for many the initial challenge loomed large. Bigger and higher boulders confronted our young men as we traversed deep into Massawepie's treed landscape. But in each instance, the scouts met the challenge posed by nature. It was a full day for our troop, the ride from home, the necessary checks, and the rock climbing. After a hearty meal in the dining hall, it was lights out. Monday morning came early, but our troop was up for breakfast in good fashion. Leaders and scouts met with our trek voyagers to cover some of the basic first day activities. Why is a voyager needed? It's required by New York State that any group trekking for hire in the Adirondacks be accompanied by a qualified leader. Need for such a program designed to train selected volunteers to take groups into the Adirondacks with a background in canoeing, minimum impact camping, and backpacking led to the initiation of the Voyagers. A one-week Voyager training program covers food, clothing, and equipment needs, canoeing, Boy Scout safety afloat, hiking, and orienteering skills, and the lore of the Adirondacks, along with a minimum of 3 days in the field. Graduates are certified by the National Camping School of the Boy Scouts of America and are recognized as qualified by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Since its inception, slightly over 100 Voyagers have been trained in the Adirondack High Adventure program. The Voyagers range in age from 18 to 70. Home base for the Voyagers during the summer months is one of the association's camps. Our Nesbuck trek saw 2 young Voyagers on their first assignment handle the trip flawlessly. Their leadership enabled everyone to feel comfortable in a unique environment. Having met with the Voyagers, the Scouts completed preparations to get underway, starting with the transport of canoes to Pierce Field Flow. Here, each of the Scouts donned PFDs, personal flotation devices, for the paddle up the Racket River flow. What was interesting about the first canoe junket was that for some of the Scouts it was their first extensive experience in this narrow vessel. However, once they got the hang of the J-strokes, canoeing became an easy mode of transportation. The paddle up river produced some picturesque settings. A short carry around Setting Pole Dam was necessary before we could continue up Racket River towards our first destination, the bluffs at Tupper Lake. Tents went up as soon as we touched ground. Following lunch, the Scouts climbed back into the canoes for additional training. Where could you expect to find a dinner starting with French onion soup, followed by turkey supreme casserole, and topped off with an apple crunch dessert? On an Adirondack trek, of course. This type of meal became standard for dinner, while breakfasts and lunches were equally as appetizing. And to think all of this was freeze-dried food taken from small packages and placed in hot water. It really was filling and enjoyable. One lad noted, "I don't know what's going to get me first, the soup or the dessert," as he needled the chefs. He then asked, "Can I have seconds?" Tuesday morning broke sunny and warm as the Scouts followed breakfast by climbing into the canoes for a long ride through Simon Pond along Racket River to Trombley's Landing. This one-day canoe trip covered several miles. Swimming and fishing followed. From Trombley's Landing, we traveled on Wednesday up Stony Creek to Indian Carry, where each of the boys assisted, well, almost all of the boys assisted, in carrying the canoes 1.5 miles into Upper Saranac Lake. Before boarding the canoes again for the trip to our campsite at Indian Point, a tasty lunch helped to soothe the appetite and weariness of the group. Thursday brought the first rain of the trek, and fortunately it occurred during the night. The tents provided by the association proved watertight as we awoke to a wet campsite, but dry tents. A day trip into Middle Saranac was on the agenda for Thursday. A short portage across Bartlett Carry preceded the canoe ride up Middle Saranac, from where the Scouts were able to dock and climb one of the Adirondack's 46 peaks, Ampersand Mountain. It was an adventurous ascent up the mountain. Returning to the waterfront, canoes were boarded for a short ride to Upper Saranac and a welcome overnight visit to Camp Eagle Island. Eagle Island, owned by the Girl Scout Council of Greater Essex County, New Jersey, is one of the great camps of the Adirondacks. This 32-acre camp serves as home for more than 500 girls, most of them from the New Jersey area, during the summer months. Girl Scouts and other youth agencies are encouraged to take treks in this beautiful environment. Food at Eagle Island is served family style in a large dining area, with ample food dished out to satisfy any appetite. The lounge area is surrounded by huge animal heads of yesteryear. The room would be a hunter's delight. Water was again the byword on Friday. We paddled through the Narrows to Fish Creek Bay, from Fish Creek to Rollins Pond into the Floodwood Mountain Reservation. This reservation would serve as our departure base camp. One of the highlights of the trek took place here as we were able to enjoy some water skiing, an activity one doesn't enjoy every day. Dinner was again prepared by the patrols, and with it came a quiet reflection on the week past as our scouts soon came to realize this would be their last night in the Adirondacks. Following breakfast Saturday morning, our group broke camp and headed for New Jersey and Virginia, leaving behind the mountain range, the lakes, the ponds, the trails that have been their home for the past week. However, they were heading home with fond memories of activities they would be able to cherish through their growing years and into manhood. While we've touched on but one trek, rest assured there are other treks that might suit your troop. Let's list them, show you where they're located in the Adirondacks, and some of the activities you'll enjoy. We have mentioned there are a number of places for you to stop going or coming along the way to your base camp. Among them is the Adirondack Museum, located near Blue Mountain Lake. This regional museum, acclaimed by the New York Times as the best of its kind in the world, contains hundreds of artifacts reflecting the early days of life in the Adirondack Mountains. Baseball may be your bag, so you won't want to miss the Baseball Hall of Fame located in Cooperstown, New York. If you're coming from the west, how about visiting Niagara Falls? These sites and many, many more are within easy driving distance from the Adirondacks. Life in the Adirondacks is something special. Beautiful days with white, fleecy clouds, fantastic sunsets, and many memories filling those days. Yes, the Adirondacks are special, and we would like to invite you to join us for a week you'll long remember.